given us this opportunity that all of the filth, all of the garbage, all of those things that we put inside our heart, with each day, we're emptying it. Just little by little by little by little. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Ramadan is there, Siyam is there, so that you can practice, in order that maybe you get taqwa. But you can't get taqwa, we can't get taqwa, if the heart isn't clean, if the heart is impure. And so the purpose of Ramadan is to clean out the heart. So some people ask this question, they say, in Ramadan I don't feel any more spiritual. I just feel hungry. Matter of fact, I just feel annoyed with everybody. I've heard this so many times, I'm way less spiritual than I am in other months. Other months I'm okay, but when Ramadan comes, I have to have food and I'm far more irritable. Okay? Now, Ramadan is a test to show us who we are. There are many, many things. Hajj is a test to show us who we are. You go on Hajj and it really tests you. You feel like getting angry, right? You feel like just doing something you shouldn't do. Many things in Islam are tests to show us who we are. Okay, this is what Ramadan is for. So when somebody says, oh, well, I don't see how it's making me spiritual, I just get angry, I just get annoyed. That's the point. Ramadan has shown you who you really are. When we have food and we're fat and happy and pleased, and we can be so nice to everybody. So, how are you, brother? How are you, sister? Let's talk. But when you don't have food and you're irritable, that tests your patience. But that tells you who you are. That tells you just this little thing God takes from you, just for a few hours. It's a little thing, and you crack. Just this little thing, and you crack. Some people say, usually in the month of Ramadan, they say, especially when we talk to non-Muslims, right? It was funny, my son was talking to his teacher on Zoom. He's homeschooled, so he has to meet a teacher once every month. So he's on Zoom and he's talking to his teacher, and she's non-Muslim, and she's asking him about Ramadan, and she says, you fast? And he says, yeah, I'm fasted. He doesn't really fast. He does like a half-day fast. But anyways, non-Muslims typically always ask this question. They say, no food or water? Right? They're just shocked. Oh my God, it's no water. Right? And so most of us, if we think about it, when we fast, we don't have food, we don't have water. But if you think about it, really, it's something very little. Something very little. For a few hours, we don't eat. For a few hours, we don't drink water. And that makes us so irritable, so annoyed. And so taqwa is restraint. Saying, I'm just going to take a little bit away from you. But that little bit that I'm taking away from you is just to empty all of that thing that you've accumulated in your heart. You've accumulated so much. And a matter of fact, the heart is overflowing with all these things. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us this opportunity in Ramadan, not just to gain good deeds. So Laylatul Qadr, for instance, we accumulate all of these deeds. We pray, we recite Quran, we do all of these things. And we gain these good deeds. But many times after the month of Ramadan, we go through Laylatul Qadr, we go through 30 days of fasting, but we still don't feel spiritual. By spiritual, I mean we still don't have that connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We just don't feel connected to Him. It just feels like another ritual all over again. part of the reason is that we haven't cleaned ourselves. So this Ramadan is a time of introspection. Introspection meaning looking at oneself. It's a time of muhasabah. It's a time of deep, deep muhasabah. When I'm fasting, do I feel like praying? If just a little food is taken away from me. I mean, most of the time when we eat, we don't feel like praying. But when we're fasting, do we feel like praying? When we're fasting, do we feel like getting up? So Ramadan then becomes that time where not only we want to gain good deeds, but we want to empty certain bad habits. Now, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. We said that Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, his expectations for this month, he had expectations in this month, not just upon himself. We come into the month of Ramadan, we have expectations on ourselves, and we hear speeches for sometimes 30 days, 10 days, whatever it is, and a speaker will come up and they'll say, okay, Ramadan is beautiful, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do all of these things. And the Imam had 50% of Ramadan is having expectation on ourselves that I have to do these things, I have to clean myself out, I have to gain good deeds, and if I do so, if I do just a little bit of that, if I clean that mirror just a little bit of my heart, I may be able to connect with God. Maybe, but the second thing that Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, if you read the supplication, how many people actually went back and read the supplication that we talked about last week? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Okay. All right. Okay. So this supplication that Imam Sajjad has, he had expectations from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also in the supplications. 50% of it is having expectations on ourselves. What am I going to do? But the other thing is that Ramadan is a month of hope. It's a month for us to change our attitudes towards how we look at life. Usually, many times during the year, we look at life very pessimistic. Or we look at our good deeds as, oh, it's another day, I'm doing this again, or I'm not going to gain anything from it. But Ramadan is a time where we change our attitude. And we say something is different in this month. Even though my heart is dead and I can't connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but in this month, Allah is telling me something is different. And my expectation of Him should try to change in this month. So I want to talk about, in today's speech, I want to talk about Imam Sajjad not only talked about his relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the second thing that he talked about in this supplication is his relationship with people. And that's what I want to speak about in this lecture. So in the middle of this dua, the Imam says, the first thing he starts off this section in the dua is, he says, وَوَفِقْنَا فِيهِ. He says, and give us success, give us tawfiq in this month. So he begins off by saying this, just give me the ability in this month. And we spoke about this last time, that the month of Ramadan, if we approach the month of Ramadan and we approach it in a very nafsi way. What's a nafsi way? A nafsi way is saying, Ramadan is here. Okay, I can do this. I can make it through Ramadan. I can do the 30 fasts, and it's not going to be difficult. I'll just make it through. Thank you, Ali. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Please recite salawat. If we approach Ramadan in a very nafsi way, in a very egotistical way, we approach it like this. We approach it that, okay, Ramadan is coming. I can make it, I can do the 30 days. We will inevitably fail. we'll do the fast, we may make it, but we'll fail in the purpose of Ramadan. But if we start Ramadan off with how Imam Sajjad started off, with this beautiful attitude, he began Ramadan off with saying, "No, Allah, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not." He just said, "God, give me success. I'm not capable. I am irritable when I'm hungry. I am impatient when I'm hungry. I am lazy when I pray. I'm all of this. But give me tawfiq in this month to do this. You give me tawfiq. I'm here to connect to you. So you give me tawfiq, because I can't." Now the next thing the Imam goes to after he says this, he says, لأن نصلي أرحامنا بالبر والصلة. He says that tighten our bonds, connect our bonds with our family with goodness and connection and devotion. So there are two things the Imam talks about in this supplication. The first, his connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but then he shifts. And then he starts talking about his relatives. He asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, "Oh Allah, connect me with my relatives." Well, this is a strange request. Why would Imam Sajjad be asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to connect him with his relatives? It's easy to connect with relatives, isn't it? Is it easy to connect with relatives? No, it's not. If it was easy, Imam wouldn't have asked for it. It's very difficult to connect sometimes with some relatives. It's very, very difficult. And so the Imam asks for this. He says, connect me with my relatives. Make this connection tighter. Make this connection stronger. Now, this is very interesting. Even if we are connected with someone, even if we are connected with our relatives, Imam Sajjad is asking for something even deeper than that. He's saying, make the connection stronger. Even if someone says, I get along with everybody, I have it all down. Imam Sajjad is saying, no, there's a deeper connection you can have. If you get along with your spouse, realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can make that connection even deeper. He can make that love even deeper. And if you don't get along with your spouse, He can make it reconnected. Or it can be your brother, or it can be your sister, or it can be your mother, or your father. I want to just read what Imam Sajjad says about this in Risalatul Huquq. Please recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Okay, I'm going to go through this very quickly because I want to get through the dua and keep time here. So we'll start with the right of the mother. The Imam says, and the right of your mother is that you know that she carried you where no one carries anyone. We carry people, right? We lift people, right? You carry children in your arms. You carry people on your back. Sometimes you play with them. But the mother is the only one who carries you inside of her. It's nobody else that does this. Nobody else would do it. Nobody else would do it. Go and ask somebody, hey, if it was possible and a miracle, would you just carry me around inside of you? First, they'll think you're crazy, but second, nobody will want to do this. I'm not carrying you. Just go take a Uber or something. I don't know. But your mother carried you for 9 months. The men don't really understand this. The women understand this, who have had children. Right? It's difficult. They gave their entire body. Nobody gives their body to somebody. Nobody just says, okay, you can take my hand. You can take my legs. You can just here, take this piece of me. I meet so many kids. I want to say something about it. I meet so many kids, young people in their 20s, teenagers who they come to the masjid and they're having problems with their parents, and they say this. They say, yeah, Brother Kawthar, you don't know. My mother doesn't love me. So what do you mean your mother doesn't love you? She doesn't love me. So how do you know she doesn't love you? Well, she does this, and she does this, and she does this, and she does this, and she does this. You know, there is nothing we can do. Nothing you can do to repay your mother. Nothing. You give your mother $1 million, not good enough. $1 billion, not good enough. If you carry her every day, as the hadith mentions, narrated regarding Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that a boy was carrying his mother doing tawaf, carrying his mother on his back doing tawaf. And the response of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that this is not equal to one contraction. It's not equal to one contraction. You cannot repay your mother. Even if your mother has done something wrong to you. Okay, this is the thing. So I get young people who come to me and say, oh, you don't know, my mother did this, she did that, and she screamed at me. Parents make mistakes. They're not perfect. Religion doesn't teach us that parents are perfect. And they continue to make mistakes. But for some reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, okay, even if your mother is, let's say she's a horrible person, let's say she's doing something horrible to you, let's say she's lost her mind, let's say, okay, you still have to be kind to her. Maybe even there has to be a separation between you and her for some reason. You still have to be respectful and kind to her. Still, Islam says you have to be kind to her. You cannot be rude to her. So the Imam continues. He says, she gave to you of the fruit of her heart that which no one gives anyone. She gave to you the fruit of her heart. We sometimes, we don't really realize this. There's people who are, physicians here, they could probably explain this better. But when a woman has a baby, it's something we don't realize. We say, oh, okay, a child was in her stomach. Child is not just in her stomach. Her entire body shifts. All the organs in the body, literally the organs in the body make room for the child in the womb. And then the child begins to take the nutrition from the mother. The mother has to give not just herself, but she has to give her organs. Her organs have to move. And then the child has to feed from the mother. So the child eats only because the mother can eat. And the child takes that nutrition from the mother. The child takes minerals from the mother. There's a lot of things to say about this. We can go on and on about what. This is why sometimes many women after pregnancy, they have many health problems. Didn't have health problems before pregnancy. No health problems. After pregnancy, many women have many health problems. Why? Because they gave of their body. That baby took so much from them. Right? So a mother risks her life. If you think about this, before modern medicine especially, people notice this, women died in the past. So a mother risks her life and her health for her child. This is why when somebody says, okay, I hate my mother, your mother saved your life. But, I have some kids today say, well, I didn't ask to be born. So that's another issue. You can't win. Okay. All right. I'm sorry? Yeah. She did not care if she went hungry as long as you ate. If she was thirsty, as long as you drank. If she was naked, as long as you were clothed. If she was in the sun, as long as you were in the shade. She gave up sleep for your sake. She protected you from the heat and the cold, all in order that you might belong to her. You will not be able to show her gratitude. This is what we were talking about. You will not be able to do it. You just keep doing it your whole life. You won't reach the end of it. Unless through God's help in giving success. I'll just give you one example. In today's world, it's even if we have an aging parent, a very old parent, right? And sometimes parents get so old they can't even clean themselves. They can't even change themselves. Okay? Many times in today's world, some children do this. Some children will change their parents. But most children will just get somebody else to do it, to change their parents, right? When our mother had to change us, she just changed us. As fathers are different. Fathers, it's like, change that. And you make a face and you're like pretending that you're like okay with it. And you're like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then you make that face and you're like changing your child. Mother just, oh, he needs to be changed. Let's change him. Right? She might not like it either, but she just does it. Right? Now, if you were to do that as an adult to your parents, would you do that when your mother gets old? Yes.
Isn't that kind of different? Because, like, for example, for a mother to change their children is like, I don't know. I feel like a cultural thing because mother's body is not really meant to be seen by adults, especially by the opposite sex children. So I think that's a hesitation coming from.
Yes, I mean that's true. There is a sense of haya there, and a sense of it. It's not appropriate sometimes for a child to change especially if it's the opposite gender, to change the clothes of the mother. But so that's not what we're talking about. That's true. That's the hesitation. But sometimes we have the hesitation of even doing it. So I'm talking about that whereas a mother just goes ahead and does it. So that's what I was referring to. Okay, the rights of the father, because I'm running out of time here. The right of the father is that you know that he is your root. He is where you came from. Without him, you would not be. Whenever you see anything in yourself which pleases you, know that it is your father, is your root of its blessing is upon you. So when I talk to young people, a lot of times they'll tell me this too. They'll say, yeah, my father does this and this and this and this and this and this. Okay, your father does all these bad things. And I'll ask them, is there something good that you do? And they'll say, yeah, I do this and I don't do this and I do this and I have all these good attributes. Sometimes young people will say this. What we don't realize is that anything that we have that's good, that's inherited, many of those good qualities are from our father. That's what the Imam is trying to remind us of. So we can complain about our father all we want, but know that if you see something good in yourself, know where you got it from. Father can make all these mistakes. And again, I'm not excusing, yes, there's extreme situations. Some fathers are very bad. Some mothers are very, okay, those are dealt with on a case-by-case basis. We're speaking in general here, okay? The right of the child. Now, the child has reciprocal rights. A lot of times we talk about the huquq of the parents, and parents are like this. They're like, well, I'm going to be angry at my child. And if they do this, I'll just be angry and they'll suffer, and Allah will punish them. The child has a right too. And a matter of fact, I said this the other day. The worst thing that a parent can do to you is curse you. It's the worst thing that the parent can do to you. If a parent curses you, may God help us if a parent does that. We would lose this dunya and our akhirah. Again, I'm not saying if there's exceptions and, if there's a parent that just curses everyone, I'm not talking about those extreme situations, but I'm talking about if we do hurt our parents so much that they curse us, this is one of the worst things we can have in our life. If we have a parent that prays for us, it's one of the best things you can have. You usher in so many blessings. So he says the right of the child. The right of the child is that you should know that he or she is from you and will be ascribed to you through both his good and his evil in the immediate affairs of this world. So know that if you have a child, if that child does something wrong, whatever good or evil they do would be ascribed to you. You can't say, oh, I just have a bad child. Again, I meet a lot of parents and they come to me and they say, it's very strange. They'll say, my daughter is like this or my son is like this. I'll say, how old is your son or daughter? Oh, they're 24. Sometimes I'll ask them, where did they learn that from? See, my son or daughter talks to me like this. I said, where did they learn that from? They're 24, right? So the right of the child is that if they do anything good or evil, it will be ascribed to you. Then he continues, you're responsible for what has been entrusted to you. The child is an amana, such that educating him or her in good conduct, husnul adab, in manners, pointing him or her in the direction of their Lord, and helping him to obey him. So act toward him with the action of the one who knows that he will be rewarded for good doing towards him and punished for evil doing. So it's the responsibility of the parents to direct the child or push the child in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the parents' responsibility. It's not someone else's responsibility. It's not society's responsibility. It's not social media's responsibility. It's not the masjid's responsibility. I get this from so many parents. I hear this all the time. Oh, the masjid, it's not doing enough. No. It's the masjid's responsibility to assist the parents, not to raise the child. The parents raise the child. The masjid is just here to say, we facilitate the education. That's the masjid's responsibility. But it's the parents' responsibility to raise the child. Then he goes to the right of the brother. He says, the right of your brother is that you know that he is your hand, your might, and your strength. How many people have brothers here? Young people. Young people. I just want to see the young people. Okay. There you go, young people. You have a brother? Yeah, two. Okay, wow. You're very blessed. MashaAllah. Do you like them? No, don't answer that question. Don't answer that. The right of the brother is that you know that he is your hand, your might, and your strength. Take him not as a weapon with which to disobey God, nor as equipment with which to do wrong to God's creatures. Sometimes we use our siblings, especially brothers, when there's brothers. Brothers can be naughty when there's two of them. So you get a lot of smiles here. When you get two brothers, they can think of some ideas. I used to have a brother. When I had a brother when we were young, we used to think of bad things to do. Yeah. So don't use your brother for that. Don't get him involved in something bad. So he continues, he says, do not neglect to help him against his enemy or to give him good counsel. If somebody's against your brother, support him. Right? Give him that support. And if he's doing something wrong, give him advice. Don't just say, oh, well, he's my brother. I can't say anything. It's his right upon you. You have to talk to him. You have to give him good advice. Then the Imam continues. He says, if he obeys Allah, well and good. But if not, you should honor God more than him. And there's no strength save in God. Somebody should not say, brothers have a tendency to do this. They have a tendency to say, he's my brother, therefore he should support me in something that's wrong. Should never ever do that. If your brother's doing something wrong, counsel him. Say, hey, bro, just come on, don't do that. Don't support him in something that he's doing wrong. Okay, I'll take 5 more minutes, inshallah, and then we'll wrap up. Please recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So I'm just going to read the next 3 sentences of the dua with very little explanation because we can just benefit from the Imam's words. He says that, and attend to our neighbors with bestowal and giving. So in this month of Ramadan, it's important to pray for the neighbors. And again, Imam Sajjad has a section in his Risalatul Huquq regarding the rights of the neighbors. I'm not going to go through that one so extensively. But the right of the neighbor is also that you forgive the neighbor's faults, right? Neighbors do all kinds of things. They infringe on our property. They'll do weird things. You just forgive the neighbor, cover his faults, and support the neighbor. The Imam has told us. Rid our possessions from claims and purify them through our alms, through our zakat. So give zakat in this month to purify whatever possessions that we have. And now this one is very important, what the Imam says. He says, وَأَن نُرَاجِعْ مِنْ هَجَرَنَا. Yeah, hajarana. Sorry, I can't read this. My eyes are going bad. نُرَاجِعَ مِنْ hajarana. Yeah. He says, and go back to him who has gone far from us. So somebody that has left us, let's say we have a friend who has left us. Sometimes we grow apart from people. There are friends that we haven't talked to them in a long time. Sometimes we haven't called them, they haven't called us. And there might even be a little animosity or a bad feeling that we have with that person. Sometimes we think, okay, why don't they call us? If they really wanted to talk to us, they would call us. And so we stop calling them, and distance accumulates between us and that person. So the Imam here is saying that, and go back to him who has gone far from us. So if somebody has left us as a friend, then make contact with them. In this month we ask Allah, oh Allah, bring them back to us. But don't just wait for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring them back to us. Call them in this month. So as a good practice in this month, take one person that you haven't called in a long time. Just one person. Call them. Even if they've done something wrong to you, just call them. Imam continues, he says, and this is very beautiful. He says, treat justly him who has wronged us. So somebody that has committed dhulm to us, we're praying for them in this month. This is the hardest thing, because we hold on to so much animosity. We were talking about the purpose of Ramadan now is to empty ourselves. This is the purpose. We have anger, we have resentment, we have malice. Empty it. In a matter of fact, the Imam is teaching us how to empty it. He says, "Oh Allah, this person oppressed me. I want you to treat them justly." So in this month, a good practice is pick one person you're angry at. Just one person. And make dua for them. See if you can. Just pray for them. Say, "Oh Allah, give them everything that's good for them in this month." And when you say everything that's good, don't be thinking of something bad. Just say everything that's good. Give them whatever is khair, right? Just make a dua in this month. Every time you pray, know that this person hurt you or harmed you, just pray for them. If we do this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause that animosity to leave our heart. He'll cause it to disappear. And the Imam ends, he says, make peace with him who shows enmity towards us. Now this is different. The first part of this dua was, this person wronged me, oh Allah, treat them justly. But now Imam Sajjad is asking, somebody who dislikes me, I know they dislike me. They don't even treat me good. I don't have anything against them. But they dislike me, and you know what? I don't care. Right? How many times do we say that? This person doesn't like me, okay? I have enough friends, I have enough family. I don't care about them. Who cares about them? Imam Sajjad is asking us in this month, remember them. In this month, remember that person who dislikes you in this month, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, make peace in their heart for me. Just absolve this. Take it all away. Except, this is one exception, except him who is regarded as an enemy in you and for you. So except one person. And that's a person who regards you, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the enemy. If they regard me as the enemy, then just make peace with it. If it's a personal issue, they don't like me for some reason, something about me, just help them, make their heart calm and make them get along with me. But the only exception is if somebody is against you, he's your enemy, then that's the person I don't want to be friends with. That's the person that I don't want to have peace with, right? Now in this modern world, we have it the opposite many times. Many times what we do is we make peace with those people that are against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're against His mission. They're against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's edicts. They're against His rules. They're against His regulations. And we make enemies with mu'mineen. Right? Simple example of this is many people will tell me, I don't go to the masjid because I don't feel welcome. Right? And the masjid is not always a welcome place. It should be. But in this, Imam Sajjad is saying something important. Okay, it's okay if you don't go to the masjid because of people. That's not the only reason to go to the masjid. As a matter of fact, that's one of 7 reasons Imam Sajjad mentions. It's only one of 7 reasons. One of the 7 reasons is to meet a believer. The primary reason we should be in the masjid is to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It should never be a reason that we say, okay, I don't go to the masjid because of people. we don't go to the masjid because of people anyways. We go to the masjid to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we're going to the masjid because of people, then we were going there for the wrong reason. And so we want to go to the masjid to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we want to be around believers because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves believers.
It's the kitty walk.
Okay. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to restore our relationships in this month. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make people's hearts at peace with us, to make our heart at peace with other people. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us give gratitude for our mothers, to give them their rights, to try to give them their rights, to do our best to give them their rights, especially in this month. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give rights to our fathers. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give rights to our brothers. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give rights to our neighbors in this month. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to give the proper rights to ourselves and to Him. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to connect to the Prophet and to allow us to connect to Imam Sahib al-Zaman. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi al-tahirin. Allah. Salli ala. Questions? Okay. Sure, that's okay. We can take 5 minutes for questions. Yes. Yes, it actually will. On the Day of Judgment, Quran says that the father, the mother, the child, the son will all disassociate from each other on the Day of Judgment. But there's also another stage. We have a hadith that on the Day of Judgment that the mother and the father will be allowed to do shafa'ah for the children. So this is another reason why your mothers and fathers are important. It's not just for this dunya, it's for the akhirah. If you disassociate from your mother and father, they will have an opportunity to do shafa'ah for you on that day. So don't disassociate from them. So also if we're in the akhirah, we'll be able to visit those people, our fathers and mothers and our children. Yes, no. So when we think of the Day of Judgment, when the Quran presents the Day of Judgment, it's very difficult to understand because there's many verses and they're all over the Quran. The Day of Judgment is various stages. So as we ascend in those stages, so at one stage, everyone will disassociate. As you go through higher and higher stages in the Day of Judgment, or different stages of that place, people will be given different rights. So when everybody is raised up, everybody will be equal except for the prophets and the imams and the shuhada. They'll have a special place, and the awliya of God. Then at one stage, nobody will be able to do intercession. People will actually disassociate. But when we pass that stage and we go to the next stage, then those same people, if their deeds are good enough, they'll be able to do shafa'ah for us, depending upon their deeds. And that's why I was trying to say that if you just read the Quran, it's very difficult to understand why does the Quran say people will not be able to do things here, but then they'll be able to do it here. And the reason is because we're moving to different stages. Okay. Was there another question? Okay. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
One more salawat, inshallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Again, thank you everyone for joining us tonight, and thank you Hajj Kawthar for your speech. Inshallah, tomorrow there's going to be another program. Also, Hajj Kawthar is going to bless us with his speech, inshallah. And then there's a few days break, and then we're going to start again on April 6th with Sayyid Abbas Radawiyyan until Eid, until the end of Ramadan, inshallah. So we would love to see you all here, inshallah. There is some food left over. Please feel free to maybe take some to go on the way out. And if you brought something, if you could please take it back, it would be much appreciated. Also, just a friendly request: if everyone is able to maybe take some piece of trash out with them as they go out, just so we keep the center clean for tomorrow, it would be greatly appreciated. And let's end off with dua al-faraj, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين صلوات الله